The third night of the Democratic National Convention certainly started on an uplifting note.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love.
Yes, that's the one thing that there's just too little of, and it was in short supply as the night wore on, as one high-profile speaker after another set their sights on Donald Trump.
The Donald is not really a plans guy. He's not really a facts guy either. He calls himself a business guy, which is true, but I have to say I know plenty of businessmen and women who've achieved remarkable success without leaving a trail of lawsuits and unpaid workers and people feeling like they got cheated.
His cynicism is unbounded. His lack of empathy and compassion can be summed up in a phrase I suspect he's most proud of having made famous: "You're fired." How can there be pleasure in saying you're fired? He's trying to tell us he cares about the middle class. Give me a break. That's a bunch of malarkey.
Now, we've heard a lot of talk in this campaign about needing a leader who understands business. I couldn't agree more. I built a business, and I didn't start it with $1 million check from my father.
Imagine if they told us how they really felt. Trump fired up his Twitter account saying President Obama spoke last night about a world that does not exist. 70% of the people think our country is going in the wrong direction. Of course, the crowd ate this anti-Trump rhetoric up. But the question is whether or not it will have any effect outside that convention hall. Joining me from Philadelphia is Lila Alphonse. She's the managing editor of news for U.S. News and World Report. Lila, good to meet you. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So we all witnessed this serial mugging of Donald Trump last night. The morning after, is the conventional wisdom that it achieved its desired effect?
I think it's hard to tell, and especially in a campaign that's been as unpredictable as his. We'll just have to wait and see what happens next. I can say that the mood in the hall does seem a lot more joyful, a lot more unified. We're hearing far less grumbling than we did on Monday. So in terms of achieving unity, it looks like we've taken some good steps in that direction.
I'm going to get back to unity in just a couple of seconds, but staying on the attack last night, it seems to me that the president maintained his position as most valuable orator, but the most valuable attack dog, at least to me from afar, by far, was Michael Bloomberg. Independent, New Yorker, fellow billionaire, who just leveled the guy, sort of not a usual suspect in terms of critics. Was that your sense as well?
No. It was. It was an interesting choice. You saw a little bit from someone who's been in several different camps over the years and spoke very eloquently about the case for Clinton and the case against Trump. So if there's anyone else who's on the fence, who's switched parties, who is looking more at ideals and platforms than rhetoric, I think he spoke directly to those people.
You said a minute ago, Lila, you identified one of the major goals, obviously, of this convention, particularly after its incredibly rocky start with the Debbie Wasserman Schultz thing Monday morning, that there seems to be more unity. What's that sense that the Sanders people are doing less booing? What's the anecdotal evidence that, at least in the hall, there is more unity?
Okay. Well, the ones that have stayed in the hall, because as you've heard, there have been a group that have gone over to the media tent, that have gone out to the gates, who are protesting there. But in the hall, it's been really interesting over the last few days to hear the ratio of cheers to boos kind of reverse. The first day, you heard booing during the prayer, the opening prayer. You heard booing throughout. You heard calls for respect. You had calls for unity. And at this point, you're hearing mostly cheers. You're hearing chants of Hillary, Hillary. You're hearing chants of love is, love is, love is. And it's just a pretty stark difference from the first day. It's a good difference. It's a positive one. It's good to see it.
By the way, I'm from Philadelphia, so I'm not surprised that any group of people in Philadelphia boos the opening prayer, I should say. You know, one last thing from last night is I thought Tim Kaine's coming out party was totally underwhelming. It was sort of like, I don't know, a city council candidate with a bunch of one-liners at a backyard barbecue. Did the delegates feel that their number two guy rose to the level they were hoping for?
That's an interesting question. I think a lot of delegates, or at least the ones I've spoken to, felt that they had gotten a nice pick. There's a hashtag trending on Twitter called Tim Kaine Dad Jokes. They've got the nice guy who'll be supportive. Yeah, he'll be supportive, who maybe is a little bit vanilla, but is a very steady hand, is working closely with the president. You're seeing a friendship there. You're seeing a team there that maybe you haven't seen from other tickets in the past. So I think maybe his niceness, maybe his calmness will work in everyone's favor. You're not seeing... He might not be as attack doggy as other vice presidential picks have been, but maybe his job is to smooth the waters.
You know, Lila, I'm guessing since you're there, you are aware that Hillary Clinton would be the first woman nominee of a major party. Have you heard that before or no?
Oh, many, many times,
okay.
Yes.
So it seems to me,
yeah.
Again from afar, as a sort of a TV viewer of this, they've done an epic job of directing a message to other women, to communities of color. But I still sense that the constituency that finds Hillary Clinton least appealing, white men, particularly white men without a college education, there's been really little outreach from the stage, maybe other than having sort of the working class guy, Joe Biden, there last night. Am I missing something, or is that your sense too?
I don't think I have quite the same sense of that, and perhaps Tim Kaine does approach those voters a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of excitement over the first major party's female candidate, the first female candidate in a major party, rather.
Yeah.
Among younger voters, I'm seeing some who felt that this was inevitable. This was something they've always thought could be achieved in their lifetime. I'm seeing a lot of tears of joy from many older voters, and especially female voters of color. So I think the outreach has been there because if you take all those smaller groups and add them together, in this election cycle, they add up to more votes than the white male voting bloc used to.
So at 10 o'clock, we're going to see what I guess I could call the daughter off. We had Ivanka Trump introducing her father the other day, and obviously Chelsea Clinton's going to introduce her mother. And we all know the story about what close friends the two daughters are, even though their relationship is on hiatus. Is there any word as to what the themes, the core messages we're going to hear from Chelsea Clinton's mother at about 10:30 tonight are supposed to be?
Well, they haven't leaked any of that information to me, but the theme of the day is stronger together. So we're hearing from military veterans, we're hearing from families of fallen law enforcement officers, we're hearing about the strength in our communities and how we can grow that strength. So I would assume that the theme would be along those lines, about cohesion, about being strong, about not being divided, about being strong in our communities and as a nation. So my best guess would be that she would stick to those themes tonight.
Lila Alfonso, it was a pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much for your time. Enjoy tonight.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
See you soon.